Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Sanctuary Half Hour, the 30th Anniversary Finance Edition. Thank you for joining us. I am Pamela King, and it is my pleasure to be your host for this evening's session, where we will continue our discussion on creating a financial legacy. And before we get into our evening's proceedings, let's cover this session with a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we praise and thank you for another wonderful day and opportunity to appreciate life and be good stewards of your provision. Thank you for everyone who is online and for those who will review this session later. We are grateful for your goodness and blessings over us. Help us to set our eyes and hearts on you afresh. Renew our spirits, fill us with your peace, love, and joy. As we convene this discussion, we ask for your guidance and wisdom to inspire, motivate, edify, and minister to those that hear us. We ask this in the precious name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Amen. In our last session, we used the Oxford definition of legacy, which says an amount of money or property left to someone in a will. Most of you would be more familiar with the term inheritance. So when we speak about legacy, we're speaking about an inheritance, what you leave for others after you're gone. Former US President Jimmy Carter is quoted as saying, "Our greatest legacy is not our accomplishments in life, it's what we can do to help the next generation." And this ties in very well with our scripture verse, Proverbs 13:22, which says, "A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children." So, how do we build wealth to leave that inheritance? Many persons believe you have to earn a lot of money to build wealth. However, wealth has nothing to do with income. Income is the money we earn and use to pay bills and maintain our lifestyles. A person can make $1 million in income and spend the full $1 million. That person would obviously not be wealthy at all, although that person would be considered making a huge income. However, on the other hand, you can have another person who makes $500 and consistently save a portion of that money. That money will increase over time and accumulate wealth. Anyone can create wealth, regardless of the size of their paycheck. It's how we manage and budget our money. Wealth can be something as simple as the money earning interest in a savings account. We can also invest in income generating activities like, let's say, an apartment building. You can build an apartment building and rent it out to make additional income to generate wealth. You can rent out the extra room in your house. You can start a small business to make additional money. You can be some person who bakes, some person who can make clothing, some person who can sew. All of these are things that can make additional money that you can help you to create wealth. The object lesson is that once you make that money, you invest it properly and not spend it. So in short, wealth is any asset that creates more money or assets. And one of the easiest ways is investing in an insurance policy. And with me again to discuss this topic are Michelle Wiggins and Patrick Estwick. And we welcome your interaction and encourage you to post your questions in the chat. I see we have Pamela Carrington online. Good night, Pamela. If you have any questions, we would encourage you to post your questions in the chat so that we can answer your questions. Michelle Wiggins is a Sagicor advisor, and her specialty is to help her clients accumulate and generate money for themselves and their families. And tonight, Michelle wants to remind you that you can design your tomorrow with the power of now. And Patrick Owen Estwick has been in the financial services industry since 1991 and has accomplished numerous company awards and educational achievements. So these two persons are, I guess we would say, they're well versed in the area of creating financial wealth. Good night, Gloria. So, Michelle, we know that half hour goes quickly, so let's just jump into our questions. You know, this is this is the shortest half hour you can ever get. So let's start with you and tell us when is the best time to start planning and activating generational wealth in a health plan.
Good night, everybody. Happy to be here. Glad that I am called again, and just to share with you. So, Pam, as you would have read there at the end of my short bio, is no. The best time to start planning for your generational wealth is no. If you haven't already, it's no. What I would say for those of you who are young, you may be just starting working, right? So you may be a older teenager or a young 20-year or young adult. If you're on your own, you're making your own decisions, you have your independence now, this is the time to really start planning, saving into what will become your wealth and generational wealth, not only for your generation, but then moving on to your children and grandchildren. For young parents, even you can start this for your children. So let's say you're even beyond now the early 20s, probably mid 20s, going to your 30s now. These are when people are now starting their families a little later these days. You can start thinking of setting that up for your children. So if you didn't do it for yourselves earlier, you still have the opportunity to create wealth in your family by starting with your children. I was fortunate enough to have parents who invested in life insurance on my life when I was like 13, a very young teenager. And so I was able to use that when I was a little older. And because I understood what that meant, I was able to build on my portfolio and add policies over the course of time. So I would say one of the great things about insurance, you would have mentioned, Pam, quite a few ways that we can build wealth. Yeah. But the beauty about insurance is that it not only helps you to save your money and build wealth, it helps you to actually protect it. So that in the event of death, for example, in the event of critical illness, you have lump sums of money that is paid out to you at the time of crisis. So you may have events that will build, you may have other investments that will build up monies over time. But when something happens, what are you going to do? It may not be at the point where you can use it because it's not enough or something like that. And then you have to go into other savings. You have to be spending your money that you're making every month. So then you're moving from paycheck to paycheck. So what insurance does, it gives you that lump sum of money at the time of crisis. So that's another way that it helps you to protect. So I would say, Pam, the time to start planning your wealth is when you are young. But if you have not done that, if you were young, the time is now. Start now. Start looking at ways that you can still do something. There are quite a few policies, especially in whole life, that you can do all the way up to 70 years old, up to 80 years old, that you can even start a process. No, reality is you may not be able to generate as much, obviously, as if you were starting at 20, but there's still something now, ways you could come together as a family. I think that's how we ended off last time. And put together money for the younger ones so that even in that generation where you're still alive, you can watch your children, grandchildren thrive and then set them up or help to set them up for the next generation. So that's what I would say.
Thank you, Michelle. And I
Sure.
think you've gone. So I'm no longer 20. I'm going to be 55 in 2 months. So,
Wow.
Patrick, for some person like me who is what we're going to call in my second life, second life begins at 40. So I'm now 15 years into my second portion of life.
I don't want to stop you from going down that road. One of you believe for yourself, but I mean, Moses
How
is
can
God.
someone like me,
Yeah.
who is over 25 or 30, as Michelle was speaking about, start creating a financial legacy at this time? What is open for some person like me to create a financial legacy?
You're alive. You're healthy. and you want to do it. Those things are important. I am going to ignore the age because the truth is that while time and money are husband and wife, um, if you have the time, you can spread out the money. If you have the money and you have a short time, if you have a short time, then you need more money. But I want to zero in on this part of it. Um, Before I answer your question, there's something I need to share first. So let me just do that. Um, Perfection paralyzes um, potential. The time to plant is no. The truth is that tonight I feel led to share this part of it. There's God's way of doing things, and there's the world's way of doing things, and I didn't want to forget it, so I wrote them down. God's way is to dedicate, to plan, give, save, repay debts, and enjoy. That's his order. The world's way is to acquire, enjoy, repay, save, give, then plan. Most persons do it the world's way, but there's a system that God has designed that will have you having the peace of mind that you seek. Because Pamela, when you say that if you have this belief that you are now way too old and you have fewer options based on what the world has to offer, that may be a fact, but it's not necessarily the truth. The truth is that if you have the money, you can make up for the time lost. And if you accept that there's some things that I want done, whether I'm here or not, or some things I want to achieve that are all legal, we have to stick that in there, then you would need a proper diagnosis and financial plan. Too many persons wait until it is quote unquote too late. Where if they started earlier, they would have made the path easier. The last 3 years have been instructive to this because we were forced to reprioritize. And I am one of those persons that believe that we ought not to return in such a hurry to how we did everything we used to do before the pandemic, before we were forced to do things differently and more efficiently and prioritize persons that matter to us. So God's way says to dedicate. So you dedicate your time to him. And because the audience is primarily our believers, we ought not to pattern ourselves and our thinking exactly as the world dictates, but to see their blueprint and then overlap that with God's blueprint. How does God do it better? I believe God does it better because peace of mind, Pam, because I know I am older than you are, even if it's only by a few weeks. I know that for me, I'm driven to make sure that my family is fine in terms of the girls will be educated, that they will have income to, well, clear the mortgage, make sure they don't have to roll that, and that they're taken care of as far as that side of is concerned. But it's the peace of mind that you're really chasing after at this stage of our lives. We want to make sure that we have some things in place. And the truth is, all of these things can be had at the stroke of a pen for less than a snack box a week. It's always been there, but people perish because they don't know. They don't take any action because they want things to be better. And seeking perfection will paralyze you to do nothing. So you do nothing. And that's exactly what will be in the envelope that comes to your house or in the bank account. Nothing. Paralysis steps in when you're waiting to be perfect. The time to plant that seed is now. It's the principle that God has always used. And this morning, when it was in my secret place, that was laid on me very heavily to make sure I share that with Sanctuary this evening. I may or may not have answered your question the way you wanted me to answer it. But the truth is that the first thing is you have to change the headphones you have on and not believe everything you hear in terms of it is too late. A proper sit down and finding out the why you get up every morning, why you go to work, why you push the way you push and putting all these extra hours, that is what I'm chasing after. If I can find out what that is, then we can design a plan that suits you, regardless of your age. And nowadays, thankfully, even regardless of your health, there are things there, but you have to plant the seed now. I will never play in the NBA. I accept that. So acceptance is part of it too. Okay. I hope that helps. But I needed to share that.
Yes, it does. One of the things you did mention, though, is that if you had the money,
Mm-hmm.
and this is assuming that persons would have been saving. Am I supposed to be assuming then that persons would have been saving toward this goal, or we're talking about money that would be
Uh,
coming from monthly income?
Monthly income, you hit it correctly when we were first talking. Monthly income is to keep your household running. The ideal world says your income is coming in, and I'm using a portion of that income, some towards investing, some towards giving, and those are the things you do for peace of mind. You're giving to others. The truth is, and these things are before us now, we talk about them, we read them in the word all the time. You give, you share, you dedicate. Those things are seeds, and those things will come back to you. I honestly believe that. Now, in terms of wealth, yes, your income, you're supposed to do those things with, but Barbados, the culture of our country, unfortunately, has been hyper conservative. And one or two things not going well, everything else gets painted with the same brush, and people accept fear. And God has not given us a spirit of fear. Um, you are supposed to seek after the person who can explain the Bible to you. You go after the persons who can explain finances to you, persons you are comfortable sharing with. You explain your why and you put it in very straight terms. That person, if they are professional, will speak to you in straight terms. We cannot create for you, sir, $1 million from the $10 you give me this week only. It will cost you more than that. I can create $1 million for you over time. How much time do we have left between your work years now and when you plan to tell the people at the place you're working, I'm done with this? That applies to entrepreneurs, people that run their own businesses who technically don't retire. They put on fresh tires and go again. They retire differently. So what do you have in your hands? That's what God said to Moses, I think it was. Lots of people are walking around with treasures in their hands and they don't know it. They would say things to you, hit a few of them on nails on the head, but they never started because they don't believe that they could become a Nichols or a Purity or a Wonder. Sorry for your product placing here. There are gifts we all have, but you have to start somewhere. The time to plant is now. People don't think they can, and they don't do because they don't believe they can. Those are lies from the pit of hell. We all have gifts. We can all make a difference. I don't care how bad your stutter is. You're the money picking. Peter, I don't care how impulsive you are. I'm going to build my church on this rock with you. Regardless of the amount of mistakes you made and regardless of the fact that you denied me 3 times. You can still make a difference with somebody. The giving part, the dedication part comes out, but we're supposed to see what the world does and build on it based on God's blueprint, not just follow them dot by dot by dot. That really was on my heart to share tonight, so that we differentiate how we can do things in God's confidence. So when, and I don't think Michelle has had any of these months yet because she's new, but there I used to have some high flyers that was saying to me, Patrick, I got 0 in my commission check this month, and they said, "What? That never happened to me," until it happened. You could work your parts off for a whole month and nothing comes through and you get 0 in your paycheck. That could happen. The go and cry a ball about it, we can complain to. The way we work is if we don't work, we don't earn. But you can work and also still not earn. So you have to have a higher source, a higher purpose, something to rely on. And that's our faith. We are not supposed to freak out and panic because we can't afford Frosted Flakes this week. The Frosted Flakes can still be there. And if the company closed down, they ain't got more Frosted Flakes, you ain't get there tomorrow, eat something else. So it's about adjusting our habits. And a part of the analysis when you do a proper sit down is to understand that sometimes you could be spending lots and lots of money on hairstyle and shoes and you don't recognize it because as far as you're concerned, it's your peace of mind, it's what you do, but it's a part of you that you could possibly adjust. Just that little tweak alone, I mean, you're not going to take action until you see it. I mean, people can the was the man the fellow told Paul in the Bible, you almost convinced me with that fancy gospel you got there, but I ain't quite convinced Agrippa. You know, you can hear we can preach the cows come home. The truth is you have to feel it and be motivated to go after what you say is important to you before you will get the impact of what you really need. And we are saying faith will get you through all of the things. We are not supposed to walk away place begging bread. You're supposed to help each other though. I am convinced that the amount of persons that I have helped, whether they've been paid or not, will be down to my benefit in my old age, and hopefully, and I'm not relying on them, will make sure that my family is not seen begging bread after I'm no longer walking this earth. We are all now, every day we are planting seeds by the words we use and the assistance we offer to others. We're talking money this evening. Money is the one thing that is throughout the Bible, and people tend to shy away from it, but it's important. The whole concept of tithing and giving and sharing, time and money are important. So give of your time and give of your money, and God will bless us. I'm absolutely convinced with that, because as much as if I had some very, very, very bad paychecks, I wasn't freaking out. The constant conversation we have is, God, I'm sorry that I was worried about the check look this month. Here, I apologize for that, because it still happens. I mean, last month I was expecting a big juicy bonus. Only found out the bonus is not last month; it's supposed to come in this month. And he went making all plans, and I didn't stop all the workmen. I called to come and do things. I said, you know what? Still come true. I can trust God. I went and buy things I know you need to buy, but what he could afford to do. And you operate. Every step you make is a step in faith. Watch your words and invest in others, because those words are important to you. Invest your time in others, it comes back to you. So it's just, I just wanted to zero in on doing finances God's way. God blesses you for those leaps of faith, even when your cupboard is dry. The lady with the oil, the lady with the last farthing that the disciples screamed at, all those are examples shared to us about giving of your little to bless others and to help others. And I think that as a body, we can head in that direction, and that will help. I honestly believe that. What Michelle and I do is to add the professional side of it, yes, and listen to you. And we can only assist you based on what you've shared. So if you say these things to us and then we hear you got 4 other children that we never hear about, then that was material, you didn't share it. So your legacy is not going to be big enough, Pam. So, you have to, so we share with you, you share with us, and is kept in a position, a place of confidentiality at all times. So just saying.
Well, thank you, Patrick. A lot of food for thought. And Michelle, so Patrick talked about, he started off by saying you're in good health. So let's talk about some person who is not in good health and they're too old to be insured. How does that person, well, as far as Patrick is concerned, I don't think anyone is too old to be insured.
Okay,
So
so
let's discuss a person who's in ill health
right.
and
Right.
older than I am.
Right. I just want to add it up. I just add on a bit to what Patrick was saying before I go there. The bottom line is, for someone who is older or starting now, the idea is to come in, talk to someone who knows what can happen, how you can plan, get together what you really want to accomplish for yourself, your family, and there's still something there for everyone. Once we balance all of that with your budget, we can find something for you. Yeah, especially if the family comes together. Now, when we look at persons who are not healthy, so you have some kind of critical illness like diabetes, you have high blood pressure really bad, you're taking more than one high blood pressure medication, or you could have recently had some kind of major injury or something like that, you can get denied. Yeah, if you're too old, you're simply not insurable. What you can do, if you still have the wherewithal and you're thinking about your family and creating generational wealth, if you have a son or a daughter or grandchildren, maybe a little more grown, even younger, you can actually have them take out a policy. So, for example, let's say my mom, my late mom, let's say she died when she was like 78. Let's say she still had a pension coming in. We had our own businesses, so she still had money coming in that way, right? If okay, she can't go in, she's uninsured, but she had high blood pressure, she had diabetes, she had all that. But there's myself, there's my brother, we're younger, there's she has a grandchildren now. She could say, oh, look, Michelle, we come together as a family, look, we can take a life insurance policy on Xavier, right? And we can, he's healthy, he's young, so the premium more than likely is going to be smaller. You know, he's going to go in there, good bill of health. We could take out something on him, a 20-year endowment. What that is basically, an endowment is a type of policy that matures at a particular time. So we can say, okay, we want some money for this family in 20 years, for Xavier's generation, for Xavier's children, so that I can keep passing on. 20 years, we want them to have like $200,000, $500,000, whatever you can afford. And that older person can say, look, I am going to contribute this to my family using Xavier. It could be more than one child, depending on how much they can afford, right? And create a policy that way. And so that's a way that it can continue to grow. And that's an endowment. You could use something else like a whole life policy, which is it has a lesser rate monthly, but you could have a very big coverage. So you can go as much as 500,000, 600,000, using the same Xavier, using the same child, using the same grandchild, put it on their life, right? So that when they die, so that is for when they pass on now, so a legacy. And when they pass on, then that money goes on to the next generation, where it could be his children, it could be a brother, a sister, or whatever. But that bunch and fund of money, tax-free, by the way, guys. That's another one of the great benefits of insurance, is tax-free, right? That continues to be passed on to the family, because when Xavier goes, that goes to the next generation, his children, brother, sister, whatever. And as you do that, though, the thing you need to do is educate your family. So we all know I have taken out a policy already on Xavier. I will do so with Eli shortly. But what I'm doing, I'm telling him about the value of insurance, so that when he gets older now, or he really starts working, he will start getting other policies to do different things for him in life, including one now that he's going to set up, not for his benefit while living, but now for legacy, one specifically to pass on to his children, so that that money continues to roll and roll and roll down through the generation. So that's how somebody who's not healthy, you're older, you may not, again, you can take it out, or somebody else in the family, and go from there. So you may not benefit it personally, but you will have peace of mind. You will have the joy of knowing that your family continues to live well when you're not here anymore.
I'll just want to add on. There are actually ways to still benefit by using an offspring. There's some plans that I'm too old to purchase now, believe it or not. Anyhow, the point is that if you can buy for a child and you have the cash flow, you could have a short-term plan. It's on the child's life, but you are the owner, so the money is actually coming to you, coming to me. I'm the owner. I'm using my child from my loins to generate this instant wealth in 10 or 15 years. I still benefit. I am in the day to get it. I got plans too. So they get a percentage. I spent the money. I am the owner. The money coming to me, I'll give them some. But that's what they had to do. So you don't know when you get that unless you honestly know when you're going to die. So you make the plans in faith to get that money, because the things you have planned for yourself and things you have planned for them. So it's not impossible. Just say.
I also, you're right. Yeah. Running out of time, but I also want to add here, there are some policies, Pam, that you can still get even if you're not healthy. You have you may be denied because of health reasons, but it's almost like over the counter kind of thing. The coverage may not be as big, right? But it gives you something that is a good death benefit. Something happened to you that your family still has a cushion. But the beauty of it is, if you continue to live longer and you thrive and go on, that death benefit actually increases over time. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So if you live a good healthy years, you may just be obese, but otherwise you're in, relatively good stead. So you can live another 10, 20 years. That
Right
death
there.
benefit will increase and increase and increase and increase. So that finally when you go, you can still pass it on, or you can decide to close the policy and keep some of the cash buildup that's in there
Mhm.
Well,
to
thank you,
help
Michelle
retirement.
and Patrick. As you can
Yeah,
see,
I know
we're
we
out
have.
of time.
Yeah.
And as I said, the half hour goes quickly. I thank you for viewing the Sanctuary half hour, but I just wanted to leave some points with you. We're not advocating that you cannot treat yourself sometimes because we know we talked about saving money, but we want you to separate your wants from your needs. The key to creating wealth is to use a budget and spend less than you earn. We're also saying you can automate your payments using a standing order or salary deduction. So if it's an insurance policy, a savings account, investment in shares, commit to making that payment before you budget the balance of your money. Develop some financial habits that your children will inherit in the future. Teach your children how to budget from early so that they don't squander the inheritance you leave to them. Build a financial legacy by leaving your descendants the gifts of wealth, financial knowledge, and sound financial habits. Understand that previous generations worked and sacrificed to provide you with many of the advantages you enjoy today. You owe it to future generations to do the same. Thank you for
Mhm.
joining us, and we want you to ensure your legacy lives on. Good night. Thank you for viewing the Sanctuary Half Hour, the quickest half hour in the world.